She was paralyzed. He was her father. And he left her alone at a bus terminal, with a one-way ticket to a place she never chose. No one spoke up. No one looked. Until a child asked, "Daddy, doesn't she have any family?" One simple question, but enough to ignite everything. The black leather seats of the Mercedes SUV gleamed under the October afternoon sun as they pulled into Boston's South Station bus terminal. Sarah Montgomery sat perfectly still in her wheelchair, watching her father Alistair conduct another business call through his wireless earpiece. His voice carried the familiar, authoritative tone that had built a pharmaceutical empire worth $800 million. "No, Richardson, we cannot delay the merger announcement." Alistair spoke into his device, completely ignoring his 23-year-old daughter. "The board expects results, not excuses." Sarah watched travelers hurrying toward bus platforms, each person moving with purpose toward chosen destinations. She envied their autonomy, their ability to simply decide where to go. 3 years had passed since the accident on her 20th birthday. That had shattered more than just Sarah's spine. It had fractured the already tenuous relationship between father and daughter, leaving them strangers sharing the same last name and little else. The distance between them had grown with each medical appointment, each reminder that his perfect corporate legacy would never walk again. Sarah remembered the exact moment she had stopped being his daughter and become his problem. It was 18 months after the accident, during a board meeting she had accidentally interrupted. The way his colleagues had stared at her wheelchair, the uncomfortable silence. She had seen something die in her father's eyes that day, the last vestiges of paternal pride. Schedule the Singapore conference for next month. Alistair continued as their driver Marcus began unloading luggage. And ensure the venue has proper accessibility features. The casual mention of her disability as mere logistical inconvenience stung more than Sarah cared to admit. She had grown accustomed to being discussed rather than included, planned around rather than consulted. Alistair ended his call and turned toward her with the practiced smile he reserved for board presentations and charity galas. "The bus provides the discretion we discussed. Serafina, private aircraft would attract unwanted media attention during this transitional period. Dr. Williams assured me their Albany facility has helped dozens of patients achieve remarkable adjustment within a structured environment." Sarah said nothing. The psychological evaluation 18 months ago had given him the legal ammunition he needed. Depression and adjustment disorder, following traumatic injury enough to justify court-appointed oversight of major life decisions. The facility in upstate New York was carefully orchestrated exile, wrapped in language of therapeutic progress and specialized care. "Your trust fund account remains active," he continued, checking his platinum watch with practiced efficiency. "Monthly allowances of $2,000 will be deposited directly into your account. Dr. Williams will monitor expenditures to ensure appropriate usage patterns during your adjustment period." She also discreetly pressed a debit card into Sarah's hand. "Your access card for personal expenses. The PIN is your birth month and year 0498. Remember, larger purchases require facility approval per the court guidelines established for your protection." The irony wasn't lost on her. He was ensuring she would have spending money, while simultaneously ensuring she couldn't access enough funds to change her circumstances or pursue alternatives. Quintessentially Alistair, solving problems with financial constraints while avoiding emotional investment or meaningful conversation about her actual needs and preferences. Inside the bus terminal at 2:45 p.m., fluorescent lights cast harsh shadows across worn linoleum floors. Unlike elegant first-class lounges, this space buzzed with working-class energy. Families with multiple suitcases, students with backpacks, elderly passengers clutching paper tickets, real people traveling to real destinations for real reasons. Alistair guided her toward the customer service counter. "The accommodation in Albany specializes in long-term residential care for individuals with spinal cord injuries," he explained to the ticket agent. "Doctor, Williams personally oversees all placement decisions under court supervision. Before the accident, Sarah had been pursuing a bachelor's degree in art history at Harvard. She had dreams of working in prestigious museums, maybe even curating exhibitions someday. Those dreams felt as distant now as her ability to walk. The ticket includes wheelchair assistance and priority boarding. Alistair continued with clinical detachment. Doctor. In the Sayer, Williams emphasized that routine and structure are essential for patients transitioning to permanent supervised care. Consistency helps with psychological adjustment to new realities. Permanent supervised care. The phrase settled into her consciousness like lead weights. This wasn't temporary rehabilitation. This was the rest of her life, organized around medical schedules rather than personal interests. Around them, the terminal hummed with announcements about departures to Hartford, Providence, New York City. Real destinations where real people pursued real lives with autonomy and purpose. I should mention that Dr. Williams specializes in adjustment counseling, Alistair said, not looking directly at her as he spoke. He understands that some conditions require acceptance of supervised living rather than unrealistic expectations about independence. His approach focuses on helping patients find contentment within appropriate limitations. Appropriate limitations. Another phrase that translated to diminished expectations and reduced possibilities. Not what she could achieve with proper support and accommodation, but what others believed she should accept given her physical condition. The bus departs at 3:15 p.m., Alistair announced. Checking his watch at exactly 3 o'clock. I've arranged for facility transportation to meet you at the Albany terminal at 6:30 p.m. Everything has been coordinated with military precision to ensure smooth transitions and minimal complications. Everything coordinated. Her entire future reduced to a series of transportation arrangements and facility protocols, all designed without her input or meaningful consent. She was cargo being shipped from one location to another, managed by logistics rather than loved by family. Your ticket and identification are in this envelope, Alistair said, sliding a manila folder across the small table between them. Along with Dr. Williams' contact information and facility documentation. The bus company has been notified about wheelchair assistance requirements and special boarding procedures. The folder felt heavier than paper should feel, weighted with decisions she had no part in making and arrangements she had no power to change. Plans laid without her consultation. Future determined without her agreement. Alistair's phone rang again, and he answered immediately. Peterson, please tell me the quarterly projections are ready for tomorrow's presentation. His attention shifted completely away from her, as if she had already departed for Albany. Business always took precedence over personal matters. Left alone at their table, Sarah opened the envelope and examined its contents. Bus ticket to Albany. One way. Departure 3:15 p.m. The facility documentation included intake procedures and residential guidelines established by court order. At 3:10 p.m., Alistair said, time to proceed to the boarding area. Ending his call and standing with characteristic efficiency, he waited for her to position her wheelchair for departure, his expression remaining neutral and professional, as if concluding a successful business meeting rather than saying goodbye to his only child. At the departure gate, Alistair handed her over to Greyhound staff with efficient courtesy. MissGreyhounded14.com. Montgomery requires wheelchair assistance and priority boarding, he informed the gate supervisor, Patricia, a middle-aged woman with kind eyes and a warm smile. All special accommodations have been confirmed in advance, per legal requirements. Patricia accepted the paperwork and turned to Sarah with genuine warmth. We'll take excellent care of you, honey. I've been working with passengers who need assistance for 15 years, and I promise you'll be comfortable and safe during your journey. I should return to the office, Alistair announced, his phone already buzzing with the next crisis demanding his immediate attention. The Peterson merger requires my personal oversight, and the Singapore investors are calling at 4 o'clock. I trust you understand the business necessity. Of course she understood. Business always took precedence over personal matters. Mergers were more important than family relationships. Corporate deadlines mattered more than emotional support during difficult transitions. He leaned down and kissed her forehead with mechanical affection, the same gesture he might offer to a valued business associate. Take care of yourself, Serafina. Williams will ensure you receive appropriate guidance during the adjustment period. Remember what we discussed about maintaining realistic expectations. Realistic expectations. Code for accepting reduced possibilities and finding contentment in institutional living rather than pursuing independence or meaningful relationships. As Alistair disappeared back into the terminal crowds, Patricia began wheelchair protocols for bus boarding. But at 3:12 p.m., fate intervened with unexpected generosity. Ladies and gentlemen, the terminal announcer's voice crackled through the speakers with apologetic urgency. We regret to inform passengers that the 3:15 express to Albany has been canceled due to mechanical problems with the vehicle. Our maintenance team discovered issues that require immediate attention for passenger safety. The next available departure will be tomorrow morning at 8:30 a.m. Ticket holders should report to customer service for rebooking assistance and accommodation arrangements. A collective groan rose from passengers around the departure gate. Business travelers pulled out phones to call hotels and reschedule meetings. Students worried about missing classes and dormitory check-in deadlines. Families with young children faced unexpected complications in carefully planned journeys. But Sarah felt something entirely unexpected. Relief. The universe had granted her a reprieve, a momentary pause in the inevitable march toward institutional exile. For the first time in months, her schedule had been disrupted by circumstances beyond anyone's control or planning. Patricia reappeared with updated information at 3:20 p.m., her expression sympathetic and helpful. I'm so sorry about this inconvenience, honey. The company is providing hotel vouchers for overnight accommodation, and we'll have you on the first bus tomorrow morning. Would you like assistance with rebooking and lodging arrangements? 24 hours. In the grand scheme of her life, 24 hours meant nothing. But in this moment, those hours felt like a gift, an unexpected opportunity to exist in limbo between her old life and whatever waited in Albany. Yes, please, Sarah replied, making a decision that surprised her. I'd appreciate help with the arrangements. The customer service process took until 4:15 p.m. Patricia explained that emergency accommodation expenses would be automatically approved through the bus company's insurance for stranded passengers. Sarah found herself sitting in the terminal's main waiting area, her phone buzzing repeatedly with calls from Rebecca. She turned it off completely. For the first time in 3 years, she was choosing to be unreachable. Near the departure boards, a single father was dealing with his own travel complications while managing an energetic young daughter. He held a phone to his ear while keeping one eye on the child, who was sitting cross-legged on the floor with a coloring book. Mom, I understand you're disappointed, the man was saying patiently. But the bus broke down and we can't control that. We'll be there tomorrow morning, instead of tonight. Yes, Maya is handling it fine. The little girl looked up from her coloring and noticed Sarah watching them. Instead of looking away, she offered a small wave and returned to her artwork. After ending his call, the father approached customer service. As he passed Sarah's seating area, his daughter called out to him, "Daddy, that lady over there is in a special chair. Is she sick or just different?" The father, she could see his rebooking receipt, identified him as Liam Patterson, paused and looked over at Sarah with an apologetic but not embarrassed expression. He seemed like someone accustomed to his daughter's curiosity about the world around them. "I'm sorry if Maya's questions made you uncomfortable," he said quietly to Sarah, approaching her seating area with respectful concern. "She's naturally curious about everything and everyone. And I try to encourage honest questions rather than teaching her to pretend differences don't exist." "Not at all," Sarah replied, surprised by her own willingness to engage in conversation with strangers. Children's questions are usually the most honest ones. I appreciate her directness. Liam knelt down beside his daughter with the patience of someone who had answered thousands of such questions. Maya. Some people use wheelchairs to help them move around. Just like some people wear glasses to help them see better, or use crutches when they hurt their leg. It's just a different way of getting from place to place. Oh, okay, Maya said, accepting this explanation without drama or further curiosity. That makes sense. Can I finish my picture now? I want to add more flowers before we go to the hotel. Of course, sweetheart. But remember to use your quiet voice. Other people are trying to rest and think. Sarah was amazed by the entire interaction. No embarrassment, no attempts to silence the child's natural curiosity, no uncomfortable apologies or explanations about insensitivity. Just straightforward information, followed by natural acceptance and immediate redirection to other activities. Are you stranded by the same mechanical issues? Liam asked Sarah as Maya returned to her coloring with renewed focus. Albany bus, Sarah confirmed, gesturing toward the departure board that still showed cancellation notices. Apparently, the same problems are affecting multiple routes throughout the system. We're heading to Denver to visit Maya's grandmother, Liam explained, settling into a nearby chair while maintaining visual contact with his daughter. Maya made her a special picture that she's been working on all week. She's very excited about showing off her artistic progress. I drew Grandma's house with lots of flowers, Maya announced proudly, holding up her artwork for inspection. See? The flowers are all different colors because Grandma says that makes gardens more interesting and happy. That's beautiful work, Sarah said, genuinely impressed by the child's attention to detail and creative choices. Your grandmother will absolutely love it. You can tell she put a lot of thought into making it special. Do you like to draw pictures too? Maya asked, tilting her head with the kind of direct curiosity that adults usually learn to suppress. I like to look at drawings and paintings that other people made, Sarah replied, finding herself drawn into conversation despite her usual reluctance to engage with strangers. I study art, how people made beautiful pictures hundreds of years ago, and what their paintings can tell us about their lives. Hundreds of years ago? Maya's eyes widened with fascination. Were the people still alive when you saw their pictures? The people who painted them aren't alive anymore, but their pictures are still here for us to see and enjoy, Sarah explained, warming to the subject that had once been her passion. It's like they left us messages with their paintbrushes, telling us about what they thought was beautiful or important. This concept clearly captivated Maya's imagination, and she began asking questions about old paintings and why people decided to make them. Liam listened to their conversation while managing rebooking paperwork, occasionally contributing questions that kept Maya engaged without overwhelming Sarah or making her feel obligated to provide entertainment. At 5:00 p.m., the hotel shuttle arrived. Patricia personally ensured Sarah's wheelchair was properly secured using the vehicle's lift system before other passengers boarded. As the process completed, Sarah found herself positioned near the Patterson family. Are you staying at the Hampton Inn too? Maya asked, turning around to address Sarah directly. I believe so, Sarah confirmed. Maybe we'll see you at breakfast tomorrow, Maya said cheerfully. The menu picture showed pancakes. During the 15-minute shuttle ride, Sarah's phone vibrated insistently in her purse with what she knew were increasingly urgent messages from Rebecca and possibly her father. She ignored them all, focusing instead on Maya's observations about everything from traffic to building architecture. At the hotel, the check-in process at 5:30 p.m. revealed that Sarah's accessible room was located 2 floors above the Patterson family's accommodation. The desk clerk mentioned that her emergency accommodation had been pre-approved through the bus company's system. What are your plans for this evening? Liam asked as they waited for elevator access. Maya and I were thinking about ordering room service and maybe using the pool if it isn't too crowded. The question was friendly, but Sarah detected careful consideration beneath it. I hadn't really thought about evening plans, she admitted. I'm not accustomed to having unscheduled time. Her phone buzzed again, this time with a call from an Albany area code. Undoubtedly Dr. Williams' office, having been notified of the delay. She declined the call. Well, if you'd like some company for dinner, you're welcome to join us in the restaurant around 6:30, Liam offered. Maya would enjoy having someone new to talk to about art. And honestly, adult conversation would be welcome after 10 hours of travel. But then his expression shifted slightly, becoming more protective. Actually, before I make that invitation official, would you mind if I asked a few questions? I'm traveling alone with Maya, and I need to be careful about her safety. Also, shouldn't someone be checking on you? Your family, or the facility you're going to? Are you traveling alone? Do you have family expecting to hear from you this evening? Sarah hesitated. I'm traveling alone. My father arranged this trip, but... She gestured to her silent phone. People are trying to reach me, but I'm choosing not to answer right now. And what's waiting for you in Albany? A residential facility for people with spinal cord injuries. Long-term care. Under court supervision. Liam's expression shifted to concern. Court supervision? Family decision supported by psychological evaluation, Sarah said carefully. My father believes I need more structure than independent living provides. What do you believe about your own needs and capabilities? The question surprised her with its directness and implicit respect for her own assessment. I believe my father finds my disability inconvenient for his business image and social standing, and institutional care solves that problem while appearing medically justified and socially responsible. Liam was quiet for a moment, processing this information with obvious thoughtfulness. How old are you? If you don't mind me asking. 23. And you don't want to go to this facility in Albany? No, I don't. But my options are limited by legal constraints and financial controls that were established supposedly for my protection. After considering this information carefully, Liam nodded slowly with understanding. Maya really would enjoy your company at dinner, and I think you might benefit from some normal social interaction before tomorrow. But I want to be clear, if you're in any kind of situation where you need help or resources, I'd be willing to listen and maybe offer practical advice based on my own experience navigating support systems. The careful offer of assistance touched Sarah unexpectedly. Thank you for that kindness. I think dinner would be very nice. At 6:25 p.m., they met in the hotel restaurant. Maya had changed into a dress decorated with princess patterns and brought her coloring supplies. I ordered chicken strips because they're safe, Maya announced as they settled into their booth. But Daddy said, I should try new vegetables too because they help you grow strong. Trying new things is one of the best ways to learn, Sarah agreed. What kind of vegetables are you thinking about trying? Maybe green beans because they look like tiny trees. During dinner, their conversation ranged from Maya's artwork to Sarah's knowledge of historical paintings. Maya asked simpler questions than Sarah had expected. Did old painters have the same colors we do? And why didn't people smile in fancy old pictures? Some old painters made their own colors by grinding up rocks and plants, Sarah explained, enjoying the opportunity to share knowledge she hadn't discussed in years. And people in fancy portraits didn't smile because they wanted to look very serious and important for their expensive paintings. That's silly, Maya declared, with characteristic 8-year-old logic. Happy faces are much more important than serious faces. I always smile in pictures. Liam contributed thoughtful questions that demonstrated both intelligence and consideration for his daughter's comprehension level. He was clearly educated and actively involved in Maya's learning, managing to participate in adult conversation while ensuring Maya remained included and engaged throughout their meal. Maya, Liam said during dessert, why don't you show Sarah some of your other artwork? I think she'd appreciate seeing your creative process and artistic development. Maya immediately began digging through her small backpack with obvious excitement, producing a carefully maintained folder of drawings and completed coloring pages. Her artistic output was impressive in both quantity and creativity, including family portraits, animal pictures, fantastical scenes involving princesses and friendly dragons, and landscapes featuring houses and gardens. This one is my favorite from this week, Maya announced, holding up a crayon drawing of two figures standing in front of what appeared to be a house with a front yard. It's me and Daddy at our house now. See how I drew us holding hands? Sarah studied the drawing carefully, noting how Maya had positioned the figures close together and included details like flowers in the yard, curtains in the windows, and a small dog playing near their feet. This is really nice work, Maya, Sarah said genuinely. You can tell you put a lot of care into making it special. What do you mean? Well, you drew yourself and your daddy close together, which shows that you love each other. And you made the flowers pretty colors, which shows that your house is a happy place. Maya beamed at this analysis. I did want to show that we're happy together. The simple statement, delivered without self-pity or dramatic emphasis, revealed both loss and resilience in equal measure. Here was a child who understood that life could change dramatically while still containing possibilities for happiness and connection. What happens tomorrow? Liam asked gently as they finished their meal at 8 p.m., his tone carefully neutral but clearly concerned. When you get to Albany, what should you expect from this facility? The question forced Sarah to confront the reality she had been avoiding throughout their pleasant evening. Tomorrow she would board the bus to Albany, where she would be processed into long-term residential care under court supervision, beginning a new life organized around medical schedules rather than personal preferences. I'll be enrolled in their residential program, she said carefully, trying to keep emotion out of her voice. Dr. Williams specializes in helping people with spinal cord injuries adjust to supervised living situations and develop realistic expectations about their capabilities. Supervised living, Liam repeated thoughtfully, his tone suggesting familiarity with institutional care concepts. Is that what you want for your life? It's what the court approved, based on my father's petition and Dr. Williams' evaluation of my psychological state and adjustment difficulties. That wasn't what I asked, Liam said gently but persistently. I asked what you want. Maya had been listening to this conversation with the intense concentration she brought to adult topics that interested her. Are you sad about going there? She asked directly. Yes, Sarah admitted. I'm sad about leaving everything familiar to go live with people who will make all my important decisions for me. Then why do you have to go there? The question was asked with 8-year-old logic that cut through complicated justifications. Why was she going somewhere that made her sad? Because, Sarah said slowly, I've been letting other people make decisions for me for so long that I forgot I might have the right to say no. But you can remember now, right? Maya said with confidence. And then you could make different choices if you wanted to. Over the next hour, as Maya worked on new drawings and the adults continued talking, Sarah began articulating thoughts she had suppressed for 3 years. Liam listened without judgment, asked thoughtful questions, and offered perspectives based on his own experience. Maya lost her mother in a car accident 2 years ago, Liam shared quietly while Maya was absorbed in her artwork. We had to learn how to build a new kind of life around what we still had instead of what we lost. It taught me that sometimes the bravest thing you can do is ask for help. What would you do? Sarah asked, leaning forward with genuine curiosity. If you were in my situation, facing tomorrow, I would probably start by figuring out what I actually wanted for my life, instead of accepting what other people thought I should want, he said thoughtfully. And then I would take one small step toward that goal, even if I wasn't sure about all the other steps that would need to come after. One small step, Sarah repeated, testing the concept. One small step. You don't have to solve everything tonight or plan your entire future before tomorrow morning. You just need to decide what you want to do when you wake up. As they prepared to return to their rooms at 9:15 p.m., Maya presented Sarah with a new drawing she had created during their dinner conversation. This one showed a woman in a wheelchair surrounded by children, with easels displaying colorful paintings visible in the background. This is Teacher Sarah, Maya explained with obvious pride in her work. She knows about old pictures and teaches kids about art and colors and how to make beautiful things. And she gets to choose which pictures to show and which children to teach. The drawing was simple, but profound in its implications, showing Sarah not as someone requiring care and supervision, but as someone providing knowledge and value to others. Not as a patient, but as a teacher, an expert. A person with skills and knowledge, worth sharing with the world. "Thank you, Maya," Sarah said, accepting the drawing with genuine gratitude and surprising emotion. "This is exactly how I want to see myself, and how I want other people to see me." "Good," Maya replied with satisfaction. "Because that's who you really are. And being in a wheelchair doesn't change the smart things you know." As they parted ways for the evening, Liam offered practical support along with emotional encouragement. "Whatever you decide about tomorrow, remember that decisions can be changed when you have new information about your options. If you need resources, legal aid, disability advocacy organizations, accessible housing information, I have some contacts from when Maya and I were navigating support services after her mother died. Sometimes the hardest part is just knowing where to start looking for help." Alone in her hotel room at 9:30 p.m., Sarah spread Maya's drawings across the bed and studied them carefully in the lamplight. In the 8-year-old's artistic vision, disability was simply one characteristic among many, no more defining than hair color or clothing choices. Teacher Sarah was an active participant in her own story, making important choices and sharing valuable knowledge and contributing meaningful value to the world around her. For the first time in 3 years, Sarah began to imagine a future that didn't revolve around medical management and institutional supervision. A future where she made decisions based on her own preferences and values rather than other people's assessments of her limitations and capabilities. She thought about her debit card with its $2,000 monthly allowance. Not enough to change everything immediately, but potentially enough to explore alternatives and seek legal advice. She thought about her education and accumulated knowledge, still intact despite physical changes and family disappointment. She thought about Maya's simple but powerful assertion that she could make different choices once she remembered she had the power and right to choose. Sometime during the night, as she lay in the unfamiliar hotel bed listening to traffic sounds from the highway and thinking about conversations that had opened possibilities she hadn't considered, Sarah made a decision that felt both terrifying and liberating. She would not board the bus to Albany tomorrow morning. She would call Dr. Williams' office and cancel the arrangements, contact a disability rights attorney using resources Liam had offered to share, and begin the challenging but necessary process of fighting the court supervision that had been imposed without her meaningful consent or adequate representation. It was a small step toward a future she couldn't yet fully envision, but it was her step to take on her own behalf. The next morning at 7 a.m. brought hotel breakfast buffets and checkout procedures. Maya was excited about continuing their journey to visit her grandmother. Liam was managing logistics while maintaining his usual calm competence. Sarah had woken with clarity and sense of purpose that felt both foreign and familiar. Her phone showed 37 missed calls and dozens of text messages from Rebecca, Dr. Williams' office, and her father. She deleted them all without reading. "Are you ready for your bus to Albany?" Maya asked over breakfast at 7:30 a.m., working her way through pancakes. "Actually," Sarah said, testing the words for the first time out loud, "I've decided not to go to Albany after all." Maya's eyes widened with interest rather than surprise. "Really? What are you going to do instead?" "I'm going to stay in Boston and get help from lawyers who know about disability rights," Sarah explained. "I want to build the kind of life I choose, instead of the kind other people choose for me." "That sounds like a very good plan," Maya said matter-of-factly. "Teachers should definitely get to choose where they want to teach." Liam looked up from his coffee with concern and admiration. "That's a major decision, Sarah. Are you prepared for the legal and practical challenges that will come with fighting court supervision? And what about the people looking for you?" "I'm not prepared at all," she admitted honestly. "But I'm tired of waiting for someone else to decide when I'm ready to advocate for myself. As for the people looking for me, maybe it's time they learned that I can make my own choices." As they finished breakfast and prepared to check out at 8:15 a.m., Sarah felt her phone buzzing with predictable urgency from people who expected her to board the bus to Albany without question or resistance. But their urgency no longer felt like her emergency or responsibility. "Maya," she said as they gathered their belongings for departure, "would you like to stay in touch? I'd love to hear about your visit with your grandmother and see more of your beautiful artwork." "Yes," Maya exclaimed with characteristic enthusiasm. "And you can tell me about your adventures being a real teacher instead of just in my drawings." "It's a deal," Sarah agreed, accepting Maya's enthusiastic hug and feeling tears of gratitude rather than sadness. "And Sarah," Liam added quietly, handing her a piece of paper with carefully written contact information. "Here are those resources I mentioned. Disability rights attorneys, advocacy organizations, accessible housing services in the Boston area. Maya's absolutely right about you being a teacher, but even teachers sometimes need help navigating systems that weren't designed with their needs and rights in mind." As they parted ways in the hotel lobby at 8:30 a.m., Maya and Liam heading toward the bus terminal for their journey to Denver. Sarah, remaining behind to begin her new life in Boston, she thought about the power of unexpected connections. 72 hours ago, she had been a passive participant in other people's decisions about her future. Today, she was the author of her own story, facing an uncertain but self-determined path forward. It wasn't the ending her father had written for her, but it was the beginning she was writing for herself. And that made all the difference in the world.